2020 was a year of physical restriction, a year of challenge, a year of pressure and stress for many of us, depending on how you look at it. And with that physical restriction, with the circumstances being as challenging as they were, with people in lockdowns, with people struggling financially, with people unable to go out and do the things they normally did in a previous life, things changed so dramatically for so many of us at a global scale. With that came a response in behavior. I think looking back over the last year, it's going to be a fascinating look into how certain environments and certain triggers will affect human behavior at a massive scale. It'd be interesting just to look at the stats and the analytics on all of that. And for a lot of people, with the circumstances changing so dramatically, having life turn on its head so profoundly compared to how it was, a lot of people, most people, turned to what they know best, which is to react to their environment, to take things personally, to see how the things that are happening around us are the reason we're struggling, and finding fault in the things around us, putting blame on things that are external to us as a reason for why we're having the difficulties we're having. Now, obviously, things did change and things were restricted in certain ways, but really, how much you suffer through all of that really depends on your interpretation of what's going on. It's entirely subjective. Yes, jobs were lost, people died, bad things happened, but there is always a way, when there is limitation, when there is restriction, when things are taken away, there's always space for creativity to come out through those confined gaps. People can be creative, people can be resourceful. It doesn't always look like it, but this is what happens. When things change, and people who don't like change see what's happening, they tend to put the blame on things. If you approach it with that kind of mentality, and a lot of excuses start coming out, and this is what happened to a lot of people over the last 8 months plus. A lot of people lived a kind of reactive life over the last few months. Many of us were resourceful, many of us were creative, absolutely. But I've even myself found myself coming up with excuses, saying that, things are the way they are, so I don't need to do this sort of stuff. I can take it easy. I can allow my body to kind of get a little bit more puffy, and I can watch more TV. But now that the new year's begun, I wanted to put this video down just to emphasize this idea that now that we can kind of call the last few months a trial period. We've got the restrictions happening. It looks like for a lot of us, it's going to get even worse and more restrained. We can see the last few months as a kind of a grace period where we were kind of getting used to it. But now that the new year started, I'm really telling myself now that there aren't any more excuses we can make to hold us back from finding a way to be successful in this time. And we can be successful. This idea of success isn't something that drained away from our potential, our possibility as soon as the lockdowns happened, as soon as COVID hit. This is something that is available to us all the time. And now is the time to draw a line in the sand. I'm telling myself this more than anyone else. Draw a line in the sand, new start to a new year. This is the time to power on forward, make the most of what we've got, yeah? Be creative with what's happening, with our circumstances, and stop blaming what's happening outside of us. Yes, it's difficult the way things are. The world has changed dramatically, but I think we can safely say that it would be irrational to have a hope strategy based on things clearing up and getting better within the next few weeks or few months. I think if you're looking at things rationally and you're being as prepared as you can be, I think we can expect that things could go on for a very long time. So for those of us who are taking responsibility, we need to drop this notion that what's happening in the world around us is creating our reality. It's the other way around. We need to start taking responsibility again and seeing how we initiate things, how we create our reality through our interpretation, through how we see the world. And we do have the possibility to create something magnificent this year, regardless of the circumstances. Now, a lot of people around us are going to continue with the old thinking, the reactive, victim-based thinking that the circumstances they're in, the environment that they're in, the news that's being shoved down our throats is causing our problems and our mental issues and whatever else. It's coming from inside of us, okay? So we create our reality. We have full control over what happens. Obviously, we have to navigate through the obstacles because there are new obstacles and new shifts that have happened. But I want to encourage you guys now to, with the embracing of this new year, to let go of the former reactive self who didn't like what was happening with the lockdowns and allowed themselves to kind of be pushed back by what was happening in the world. Now is a new dawn. Now is a new time to try something different, to realize that things may not change for a while, and to really think about accepting what's happening, adapting to what's happening, making the most of what's happening. Now, I'm not saying that I'm supporting all of the things that you see going on with governments being authoritative and wearing masks and all that stuff. I'm not saying that that's necessarily a good thing and the right move, but I am saying that things are going to happen the way they do, and you're only going to lose your energy, lose time, lose your soul, your spirit by spending time worrying about what's happening in the world and trying to change it, when you're doing that at the expense of what you could be doing with the things right in front of you, developing mastery, developing a skill set, making money in the best way that you can online, having to adapt, having to just be real about what's going on. And what was really interesting that I saw in a Mark Manson email newsletter recently was he talked about the analogy of what's going on right now with the lockdowns to what happens when you acclimatize, when you're climbing a mountain, when people have to deal with the thinning oxygen, they have to kind of park for a while and have some time to adjust at a higher altitude. And what's happening, you could see, is that we're kind of entering a higher altitude of added challenge, which is actually strengthening us through this process. So you could either react to this and be beaten down by this whole thing, or you could use this as an opportunity to toughen up, to strengthen, to do more with less, so that when things do turn around, do get easier and do get lighter, and we get more oxygen, we get more space, we will have raised our game so much by that point that we'll find everything a lot lighter, a lot easier. So that's really seeing what's happening now as a real opportunity. I want you guys to drop the excuses now. I want you guys to quit resisting what's going on out there, and to really commit now to not only dealing with it, accepting it, but to really thrive, really do as best as you can with what you have, really see the restriction as an opportunity to create more. And I want you guys to join me on this journey through this next year. I'm going to be committing to more creativity, more output than ever before. Make the most of it. You know, if you have more solitude, then make the most of that. You have more time now to focus on consistency, or if you're finding that there are things around you that are still causing you stress, any kind of external pressure like that, maybe it's people that you live with that you can't move away from for the time being. See it all as an opportunity to get better, to strengthen, to expand as a person, and realize that you have the ability to interpret your reality in any way that you like. You don't have to be beaten down by what's happening. We can thrive regardless of what's going on. I hope that flicked a switch in you guys. Do subscribe to my channel if you like this kind of thing. I'll be sharing more of these videos most days of the week. Do like this video if you liked it. Do share it with your friends if you think they'd benefit. Turn on the notifications button, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.